Well, hello everybody, and welcome to Between Two Beths. Good morning, Beth.
Good morning, Beth. How are you today?
I'm doing well. And you?
I am doing really well. It is 70 degrees where I am today, which is in the greater Washington, D.C. area. So that always puts a smile on my face.
Oh boy, it would put a smile on my face too. It's supposed to be nice here in Red Deer, but it is cloudy and it's supposed to be sunny, but who knows? Wait a minute and the weather will change, right?
Yeah.
Especially, yeah, both of us, I think, are aware of that. Well, Beth, why don't you introduce yourself today first? We'll come back to me.
Okay. I am Beth Y. I'm the owner operator of Beyond Life Coaching by Beth. I offer group programs, I offer individual programs, and I serve midlife people going through major life changes, specializing in helping widowed people move from um, just existing to fully living again. I'm a CPC certified professional coach. I am certified in energy assessments and I am accredited with the International Coaching Federation. So tell us about
Nice.
yourself, Beth.
Nice. Well, Beth, your work is so important. I'm so glad you do that. And I'm so glad our paths have connected because we share so many issues for caregivers and widows. And you've been through the caregiving thing in a small way. So I am Beth M, and I am a holistic nutrition and health coach turned champion for the midlife caregiver because I had 2 seasons of caregiving myself. And I realized that even knowing what I knew, I didn't take care of myself well. So my goal is to help caregivers take care of themselves during this season because caregiving can cost you your health and actually it costs people their lives as well, unfortunately. So that's my goal. And that's how I work with women. I do coaching as well. And I have some digital tools that meet the caregiver where she's at to help her deal with burnout and exhaustion and things like that that she's experiencing right in the middle of the messy caregiving life. So, anyways, that's what we both do. And so today's topic, we're talking about something having to do with spring. So I'm glad that Beth is experiencing a little of that spring, and maybe I will later, and whoever's watching or listening might be experiencing it now as well. And it has to do with planting seeds for growth and the growth that we don't see yet. The growth that's still underneath the ground. So I thought we'd start today by me asking Beth a question. And I'm wondering, Beth, if you garden in the past, or if you currently garden, or if you're a gardener.
Um, the most honest way I can answer that question is I try. I'm not always successful. I'm successful with certain plants, and I have much better success with containers on my
Ah,
deck.
nice.
So um, I do have a plant on my desk that was given to me 6 years ago, and I'm very proud to say it's still alive.
That's
Um,
great.
so I like the notion of it. I like to see pretty flowers.
Yes.
I'm just not as good at it as I would like to be.
Ah, well, um, yeah, that's that's a challenge for me too. The reason I'm a gardener is because my husband's a gardener. I do not have the green thumb. He does. I will give everybody a little secret. I have watered fake plants before. So yeah, if that's any indication of my green thumb, I don't have one. But I enjoy the benefit of them. And the plants Steve would plant mostly were vegetables, but he did plant sunflowers for us one time when we were owning the house. But I wanted to take this then into caregiving and widowhood. And how I saw it happen is that my biggest problem, other than that I can't grow things, is that I'm impatient. I don't like to wait for the planting. Steve would plant and we'd be all excited and we'd go in and eat our dinner. And the next morning I'd get up to go out and look for the sprouts from the plants. Like I couldn't wait to see them. So I see that as a real mirror of caregiving, and looking for growth in caregiving because it's underground, it's underneath and behind everything, the pain and the struggles and the stress of the season hides anything that good that might be going on. And there is good. And that's one thing I wanted to give hope for. There is good going on underneath and behind the scenes. It's just not visible. So Beth, how does your situation and the people that you talk to and work with relate to that?
Um, yeah, I like the concept that it's underneath, it's underground in relationship to dealing with what widowed people are going through. I mean, it's not, it's widowed people, caregivers, which is and can be anticipatory grief.
Yeah,
Um, it's it it's not an instant transformation, right? It's a process.
that's right.
And it's about the small, intentional actions of moving forward at a pace that works for you.
Yes,
Um, Both can live in long seasons, right? Caregiving and widowhood.
yes,
Um, there are no quick fixes.
no,
I mean, everybody's growth,
yeah,
right? If we're using the metaphor of planting seeds,
yeah,
is their journey and is on their timeline. And you don't have to be what am I trying to say? Um, planting can happen, planting and growth can happen even in an emotional winter.
yes,
So, when we think about spring, right, things are
mm,
starting to sprout.
yeah,
But it's that overwinter process is equally as important, the nurturing and the hibernation and all that.
yes,
It's part of the cycle. So what
yes.
are your thoughts on that, Beth?
That's such a good point. I have a friend who is a gardener, and she actually brings into her house and or into her greenhouse certain plants that I think the word term is perennial, right? That they're going to come up next year again.
Yeah.
So that can't be out in the winter, at least the red deer winter. And she brings it in so that there is this hibernation period, this behind the scenes, still something happening, life, even though it's not visible and it's I mean bears hibernate, right? They're still alive, but they're not doing their normal thing. It's not doing its normal thing, and then you bring it out again. And I think that makes me think of I see growth as not situational. So growth doesn't happen just when the situation is right, like caregiving. If I'm in caregiving, I'm not going to be growing. If I'm in growing my business, then I'm going to be growing or something like that, right? It's not situational. I think it's actually us driven. It's driven by us, our attitude, our the way we show up to something, the way we handle something, mindset, belief. I think that concept came really clear to me when I was preparing for this because I thought we view growth and or a lot of things as situational, as only being able to happen if I'm in a certain situation, if I'm married or if if I don't have kids, we are free to go on vacation or whatever that looks like, right? If I'm not caregiving, I don't have that extra responsibility. I can do this and or I can become this. But growth is not situational. It's about us. What do you think about that, Beth?
Oh, I absolutely agree that it comes from within. And I also agree that it's a situation can maybe prompt some growth, but it is not situational. If you look at the seasons, if we're going to go back, we're at the beginning of spring, right? And it's people traditionally, I think, associate spring with the season of growth, right?
Yes.
When you look at, and then summer is more maturity, and then fall is the dropping of leaves, which I absolutely love and
Yes. Me too.
appreciate. And then there's winter, which is the hibernation season.
Hmm.
So it's continual.
Yeah.
right? It may take on different attributes, but it is, again, it's something that, as you said, a mindset. It's something you have to embrace. And
Yes.
there's different types of growth as well, as there are different types of
Yes.
seasons.
Yes.
So when you're looking and defining growth, I mean, it could be, as you said, it's cyclical. Um, some days are blooming and others are for rooting. And
That's good.
it's okay to not normalize nonlinear progress.
Yes.
We don't all show up in a growth spurt
That's
every single day. Sometimes we have to nurture, and that's part of growth as well. So, your
absolutely.
thoughts, Beth?
Oh, that's amazing. And what it makes me think of is if you don't water your flowers or your vegetables or weed them or fertilize them or whatever those all those things are to help them grow and to be hardy, then they might wither or they might just not be, you might not get as many tomatoes as you would have otherwise. So I guess our lives are similar to that. And maybe that's where I see growth as even part of self-care, that we need to be nurturing ourselves in ways that are producing growth. And you're absolutely right. There are so many seasons, like you said, rooting and harvest, I was thinking of as well, and planting. And the caregiving season at certain times might be those seasons that are quieter, that are more like hibernation, right? And then but maybe they can be fertilized and watered to bring about a little more growth because caregiving, in my opinion, and possibly widowhood as well, those times of struggle, I think of the butterfly too, right? It struggles to come out of that cocoon. So times of struggle bring growth to us. Growth doesn't happen, first of all, in isolation or in a lack of any trouble or struggle or hardship, right? It comes when we've been pushed and stretched and when we're being pushed and stretched. And that butterfly, I think, is perfect analogy both for spring and for struggle and growth because that butterfly is beautiful. It doesn't mean that cocoon isn't beautiful and what it is in and of itself at that time, but it means that in order for it to change, it goes through a struggle.
Right. I would say that, you know, from someone who is a widow, and I have been widowed for about 6 years, um, it's transformation just like the butterfly,
Yeah.
right? Um, you go, you're this larvae, and then you spread your wings. And I think when you're navigating widowhood, that, as you said, over time you go through these different phases,
Yeah.
and it's about embracing the growth.
Yes.
Um, I often say there comes a time as a widow where you kind of lift your head up out of the sand and the fog starts to clear.
Yes.
And that's when growth starts happening. It's okay to be in that season of hibernation.
Hmm.
That's a natural thing.
Hmm.
Um, but at some point, you have to embrace the future,
Yes.
acknowledge the hardship that you went through,
Past. Yeah.
and allow yourself to live and be happy again.
Yeah. Yes. That's great. And I think that can be true in caregiving as well, that the acknowledgement, I think it's similar to, right, the stages of grief. We're going through this need to acknowledge and, excuse me, not deny what it is we are in, the place we find ourselves in, but then it's a continuation, right? We can't just stay there either. But it's also not linear. And I like you said that earlier. I've always said that caregiving is not a linear thing. And that's one of the reasons I don't have linear programs because it's it's not linear. Every day is different and it might be better or worse or different than the day before. So,
Yeah, life
um,
is not linear.
yeah, you're right. And yet we as business people, we're both business people. So many businesses thrust on us linear things, right? As if our
Correct.
life and or business is linear. And we are both acknowledging for anybody watching and listening that what you're going through right now is not linear. So Beth, do you have any parting points? Because I'm watching our time and I'm seeing that we might be needing to close up here, even though this is a great
Um,
topic. I love it.
yeah. So, in the context of growth and, planting seeds, I have a couple thoughts for people to reflect on that are watching. What is one small seed you can plant this week? Um, in this season, ask yourself, who am I becoming? Not who I was before, but who I am now. Finally, what would it look like to let both love and loss exist together?
Oh,
So, just a few questions. Anybody wants to reach out, have a chat? I'm here, same as Beth Meek. Um, Neither one of us really advertise, so we appreciate you sharing our videos. You
yes.
can find me at www.beyondcoachingbybeth.com. And I do offer complimentary sessions so we can have a little chat at the beginning and see if you would like to work with us. Beth, your closing thoughts?
That's amazing. I'm not going to add anything to your questions. They're perfect because they relate to both our gals. And I just ditto everything Beth says. She's really good at wrapping things up like that. I will give you my website as well. It's Beth Meek Coach, just as it sounds.com. And I do have complimentary sessions as well and would love to chat if you think you could use some help with self-care and just acknowledging that you need it and where to start and how to fit it in, or are interested in any of my digital products. Um, just both of us are happy to share with ladies or, in Beth's case, gentlemen that are in this season. And I have sent a gentleman to you, Beth, and I don't know if he reached out, but at any rate, so, we will, I just thought of that. Sorry, guys. This is real life with Beth and Beth. So, anyways, we're going to close for now and we will see you another day in April. So, have a great day.